Every once in a while here at Muscle Car of the Week, we are contacted by somebody who used to own one of the cars that we have featured that currently lives in the brothers' collection. And this has happened several times, and it's pretty cool because it just happened again. So this time, we were contacted by a gentleman named Lee Pearl, and he was an owner of the 1970 Oldsmobile 442 W-30 4-speed convertible that we featured back in episode 54. And this is an interesting car because it's a very rare car. Not only is it the W-30 4-speed convertible, but it's also featuring a W-27 aluminum rear end, which is extremely rare, and especially on the convertible model. And the story of this car is pretty well known. If you go back and revisit that episode 54, you'll hear all about the original owner, a guy named Robert Casley, who was thinning in the hair department, so he went by Rug. His friends called him Rug Casley. Anyway, he ordered the car new, and it didn't arrive the way he wanted, and it went back and forth a couple times. And he drove the car for a while and ended up just kind of ending his relationship with the car by getting it repossessed. He didn't pay the bills, it gave him some problems. So the second owners were a couple named George and Betty Steele, and that's kind of where we're picking up our story today. So Steele drove the car for a while, he ended up passing away, and his wife Betty was the secretary of the gentleman Lee Pearl who contacted me. And what Pearl pointed out is that Pearl has always been an Oldsmobile fanatic. He had a 71 W-30 442 convertible, and one day, unbeknownst to him, Betty shows up at the office driving this gold 70 442 car, and he looked out the window and he said, where did this come from? So he knew that he had to have this car, and by this point it was 1977, and a gas guzzling, kind of worn convertible really wasn't a hot item back then. So we ended up buying the car for like $600, which today we look back as a tremendous score. He brought the car home, drove it for a little while, made a couple of attempts to kind of restore the thing here and there. But interestingly, the car became a real integral part of his family. Him and his wife had a daughter. It was their second child, and they brought her home from the hospital in this Oldsmobile, right? So her name was Marit, and they said jokingly, if we put our infant in this car and she doesn't cry, someday it could be hers. So they always called it Marit's car because sure enough, she didn't cry a peep on the way home, so she liked it from day one. And Lee admitted to me that the majority of his ownership, the car was kind of in the garage in various states of disassembly or whatnot, as he said, being a very expensive shelf. And one day he realized, he knew the rarity of the car and he knew that there was a market for it. And the famed Oldsmobile restorer, Gary Riley from Level 1 Restorations, reached out to him and offered him a pretty handsome sum of money for the car unrestored. And he thought, well, that kind of validates the value. So he always thought his mission was to, restore the car and show it and share it with other Oldsmobile fanatics around the country. In fact, his daughter Marit said, you know what, if that's my car, we can't sell this thing unless it's restored and brought back to original condition so somebody can enjoy it. So she was kind of against it. Well, time went by, and eventually Lee was able to contact Riley again and say, you know what, I think I'm in a position where we can restore this car. So Gary Riley brought it back to Level 1, did a tremendous restoration on the car, made it look the way we see it today, and sent it home. Lee and his family toured the car around the country. It's been the Oldsmobile Nationals, the Muscle Car and Corvette Nationals. It even kind of culminated in a magazine feature in Hemmings Muscle Machines magazine. And the neatest part about that is there's a photograph of daughter Marit driving the car in the Hemmings magazine story for the first time. This is the first time she ever drove the car, fresh after restoration. New odometer was showing 7 miles at the time, so it was totally fresh. So all of the things that the Pearl family wanted to do with the car kind of came to be. And Lee got to the point where now he had this extremely nice, extremely rare W-30 in the garage, and he felt having it in the garage was kind of a disservice to the enthusiast community because not everybody could see it. And it was a little bit stressful because the car was so nice, he didn't want to scratch it up or anything like that. So it left Lee's possession and went into the brothers' collection, I believe through an auction process. But when speaking with Lee, he was happy to have seen our first video on the car and all the details about Rug Casley, and a really neat story about how the mailman helped Lee find Rug and get information on the car. You really got to watch that episode to see it. But he was also happy to see that today, through our videos and eventually through the Brothers Collection Museum, the car is now being shared amongst Oldsmobile fanatics all around the globe. So it was really cool to talk to Lee and hear the story of him and his family and the second chapter of this car now as it enters its third chapter in the Brothers Collection. If you were an owner of one of these cars that we featured, or maybe you know somebody who knows something about them, we're always happy to hear more stories. You can reach out to us at our website at musclecaroftheweek.com, through our Facebook page, or here in the comments wherever you're watching this video, and we're happy to talk to you about it. We'll be back next time with another fantastic car from the Brothers Collection on Muscle Car of the Week.